Now from ABC 7, live breaking news.
Chaos erupted on Capitol Hill today. Mobs of protesters storming the building, breaking through doors and busting windows.
They were pounding on the doors of the chamber, and they had barricaded with a piece of furniture, and then they drew their guns.
Bay Area lawmakers among hundreds of legislators rushing for cover. President-elect Joe Biden calling the riot an assault on democracy.
I am genuinely shocked and saddened that our nation, so long the beacon of light and hope for democracy, has come to such a dark moment.
Tonight, lawmakers reconvening to finish counting electoral votes.
May God bless the United States of America. Let's get back to work.
Is the cradle of democracy.
And they did. Right now it is 2 a.m. in Washington. The Senate has adjourned until tomorrow morning, but the House is currently debating an objection to overturn President-elect Joe Biden's victory in Pennsylvania. Outside, calm has been restored, but a curfew remains in effect. The mayor for the District of Columbia has declared a public emergency for the next 15 days. Tonight, D.C. officials say 4 people are dead, including 1 woman who was shot. 3 others died of medical emergencies during the riot. Good evening to you. It's so hard to put into words what we witnessed today because we just haven't seen it before. ABC 7 News reporter Andrew Dymburt is in Washington taking you through the chaotic events of the day.
A dark day for democracy. Pro-Trump extremists seizing the nation's capital, 1 woman shot and killed, lawmakers hiding, journalists evacuated, a curfew in place, the FBI and National Guard deployed to take back the Capitol from chaos. Members of Congress who were trapped inside congressional chambers describe the surreal scene.
This is a very scary moment.
The violent pro-Trump demonstrators stormed Congress as lawmakers were ratifying President-elect Joe Biden's decisive electoral victory. As the situation spiraled out of control, Democrats and Republicans alike urged President Trump to condemn the violence and barbaric display. Multiple sources tell ABC News Trump slowed efforts to call in the National Guard, and it wasn't until a few White House officials intervened for the sake of the country did the president sign off. Trump eventually tweeted a video telling fanatics to go home, but the video removed by Twitter because Trump continued to stoke the fire by falsely asserting he won the election.
You have to go home now. We have to have peace.
President-elect Joe Biden with strong words for the outgoing president.
Threatening the safety of duly elected officials. It's not protest. It's insurrection.
Leading up to the violence, Trump had been demanding Vice President Mike Pence somehow prevent Joe Biden's win after it had already been certified by the states.
If Mike Pence does the right thing, we win the election.
But after 4 years of unwavering loyalty to Donald Trump, Pence showing defiance, saying in a statement he does not have unilateral power to arbitrarily change an election. Then, following hours of violence and destruction, lawmakers returning to the Senate chamber, undaunted to finish the people's business.
To those who wreaked havoc in our Capitol today, you did not win.
Even some of the president's staunchest supporters, like Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, breaking with Trump.
We will not bow to lawlessness or intimidation.
And multiple sources tell ABC News that there have been discussions among some of Trump's cabinet members about possibly invoking the 25th Amendment, which would be a vehicle to remove him from office. But it's unclear how extensive those conversations have been or whether Vice President Mike Pence is supportive. Reporting from Washington, D.C., Andrew Dymburt for ABC 7 News.
That is a long road. We'll have to see what happens. Many think it's unlikely, but we will see. Well, now to ABC 7 News reporter J.R. Stone with reaction from Bay Area lawmakers who were on Capitol Hill today during all of that chaos. J.R., you heard some really harrowing stories from them.
Certainly did, Dan. The lawmakers that I talked with described that moment that people began banging on the doors of the U.S. Capitol. Shortly thereafter, they were inside.
They were pounding on the doors, so they told us to lie down on the marble floors, which we did. And then there was a shot.
Congresswoman Jackie Spear describing the moment that people stormed into the U.S. Capitol building Wednesday. Spear saying that she quickly learned that there are gas masks under each seat of the House chamber.
There was an announcement made that the Capitol had been breached, that we should sit in our seats and wait, that we should get out the gas masks. And I have one here to show you. It's in this packing like this, and then when you open it up, you can hear this thing taking off.
I heard people pounding on the doors.
Congressman Mark DeSagne described what happened as an attack and described those inside the Capitol building as part of a mob.
I don't know how anyone could know anything about the American Constitution and how we're founded and formed to believe that they were doing the right thing by attacking the U.S. Capitol, attacking the people that the people represent.
Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi addressed the situation Wednesday evening.
To those who strove to deter us from our responsibility, you have failed. To those who engaged in the gleeful desecration of this, our temple of democracy, American democracy, justice will be done.
Representative Barbara Lee tweeting Wednesday for President Trump's removal, something echoed by DeSagne and Speer.
He has to be stopped, and I'm afraid of what he's going to do in the next 2 weeks.
Some very tough images there. Now, Senator Dianne Feinstein took to Twitter this evening saying that President Trump must stop inciting violence with false claims of election fraud. J.R. Stone, ABC 7 News.
All right, J.R., thanks very much. And on that subject, in an unprecedented move, Silicon Valley social media giants Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram have locked President Trump's accounts. ABC 7 News reporter Anser Hassan spoke with analysts to explain why.
On Wednesday, President Trump suspended from Twitter for 12 hours, banned from Instagram and Facebook for the next 24.
And in some sense, what President Trump did today was that he incited that violence that we saw on the Capitol.
Matt Cabot is professor of public relations at San Jose State. He says social media companies suspending the president's accounts was the right thing to do.
When we use social media as the primary a tool for important information, then these companies do have a big responsibility.
You'll never take back our country with weakness.
This is the toughest stance these social media platforms have taken against the president. Among the videos deleted was Trump's address to supporters who stormed the Capitol. Cabot says these private companies shouldn't be in the business of policing free speech, but given their size and power, they had to act.
Again, they can get away with just saying this is misinformation. But when that misinformation incites people to violence, I think the right thing to do is lock down those accounts.
Continuing to press violent or unconstitutional or illegal activity like this off of the main platforms is a good thing.
Professor Donna Crane worked on Capitol Hill for 25 years as a lobbyist for social justice groups. She says when misinformation isn't challenged, it's legitimized. She argues suspending the president isn't about free speech.
Twitter doesn't guarantee me an audience. Twitter is a company that makes a profit. Now, if the government was trying to shut down my speech, that's where the constitutional right kicks in.
In Silicon Valley, Anser Hassan, ABC 7 News.
Sad, embarrassed, appalled. Those are just some of the words used by people across the Bay Area to describe how they felt witnessing today's rioting.
It hurts my heart as an American. It hurts my heart as a black American.
I think one of the things that's lacking in our politics today is it seems like people are kind of very closed-minded. There was a time when we could all come to the table and we could all try to hash out our indifferences.
I'm embarrassed to be American. I'll tell you that much right now.
Many of the people we spoke with agree that violence is simply not the answer. Well, the fact that a large group of people could so easily breach the Capitol has raised a lot of questions, as you can imagine, not just from a security standpoint, but from one of racial justice. ABC 7 News reporter Matt Boone spoke with local activists about what they saw today versus past Black Lives Matter protests.
As the group of Trump supporters stormed the Capitol, local activist Jean Bridges had one thought.
In any racial justice protest that you go to, there's a very heavy militarized police presence. And
very firm boundaries. The experience is night and day.
Especially it being at the nation's capital, where CARE Executive Director Zara Bilou says she's always felt highly scrutinized.
I've been there with colleagues where we are not able to carry food in our purses through the underground tunnels.
The summer of Black Lives Matter demonstrations where protesters were showered with tear gas and what happened in Washington are not disconnected, argues University of San Francisco professor James Taylor.
If African Americans are perceived to advance politically or socially, there's an equal and opposite reaction.
Whatever the internal motivations were, this was the end result. Chaos as a mob broke windows, destroyed barricades, and made it into secure areas of the Capitol. Even from a law enforcement perspective, something was off.
I was so startled.
Former FBI agent Rick Smith says authorities in D.C. were clearly not prepared.
There should have been better planning. I'm a little disappointed that there wasn't better planning for this eventuality, and it was allowed to get out of hand.
Matt Boone, ABC 7 News.
We sent this push alert on our ABC 7 News app when protesters first breached the Capitol this morning. The app is free to download in the App Store and also features live streaming of breaking news events like we witnessed today.
I'm Dan Noyes. No one tried to break into the state capitol today during a Trump rally, but there were clashes. I was there and have the story.
Also ahead, Georgia is sending 2 Democrats to the U.S. Senate. A look at the national implications.
I'm meteorologist Sandhya Patel, tracking the next round of showers. I'll have an hour-by-hour look at when you can expect them coming up.
Okay, Sandhya, thank you. All that's ahead, but first, here's a look at what's coming up tonight on Jimmy Kimmel Live right after ABC 7 News at 11. Jimmy.
Thanks, Dan and Alma. Join us tonight for some togetherness. The Capitol was besieged by MAGA hatters in all manner of crazy costumes. It was like a psychotic Price is Right audience forcibly taking control of the Plinko wheel.